Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of PD and P-Dubs Unscripted here, coming to you live, recording on June 15th, the day after Flag Day.
Woot woot.
How was your Flag Day, Pastor?
It was glorious. It was just so nice to see all the American flags out in the community, you know.
I didn't see too many in the community.
Didn't. I saw a few.
You saw a few?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I hope everybody had a wonderful Flag Day because, you know, P-Dubs was saying last episode how much I love Flag Day. I don't know, it just always amuses me that we have a day for the flag.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate the flag and what it stands for.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, but today, you know, as you hear this, it is June 21st if you're listening to it on the day that it comes out. And at this point, we are in the middle of our VBS when you will be listening to this. Halfway done, maybe, with VBS.
And you can bet we're having fun.
Having fun, but kind of tired.
Yeah.
I like the little meme that one of our coworkers sent us, where there's a picture of first day of VBS and it was Taylor Swift, and then the last day it's Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah. And he looks a little rugged.
A little worn out.
Worn out. Yeah.
Well, I sent one I saw, they said like January 1st and January 200 or 56th, and like the first picture it was maybe Macklemore or some rapper. And then the last day it was Toby from The Office looking all worn out. So I guess that's the new memes going around is like day whatever and how two different actors or famous people.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's always a good week, and you know, pretty soon it'll be Shining Stars.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. That'll be fun, we hope, as well. So got a lot of kids we're going to be having a good time with, sharing the love of Christ with and the message of the gospel. So
yeah, looking forward to both those weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, today we want to talk a little bit about the end of the gospel reading from this past weekend from when we recorded, when I preached on Matthew 9, and a little bit on this upcoming weekend, which would have been the few days before this when you're hearing it, the second reading, the epistle reading.
Right.
And it kind of fits with what P-Dubs has been going through the last week or so, almost week and a half.
I tell you, the last podcast, PD had to do a big job of editing because I had this cough going on and a tickle in my throat, and we had to, pause every now and again. And so I was like, okay, I went through this for a week dealing with this cough, and I better go to the doctor. And, I don't know about any of you folks out there, but I'm getting better as I get older, but I used to resist going to the doctor. Do you like going to the doctor?
No, not really.
I don't either. And when I get in the room and I talk to the doctor or the nurse practitioner, it's fine, but it's the waiting. I think I've shared about that before. And, especially when you're in there and there's people who've been coming in after you or going in before you, and that just kind of gets me, my gears grinding. And the one time Gwen went with me, and she knows what it takes to get me to the doctor. It takes a lot of encouragement from her, I'll just say that. And then the one time we were sitting there for like 45 minutes to an hour, and I was just stewing every person that comes by, and I'm like muttering to her. I'm like, look, there's another one. There's another one. And then so she went up, and I think we were both had appointments or something. And so she went in before me, and she read the Doctor of the Riot Act, like, how hard it is to get my husband to come here and this and that and this and that. And I'm like, I didn't know she did this. So now Gwen thinks she's blackballed from seeing the actual doctor.
Does she see like the nurse practitioner?
Yeah, she has not seen the actual doctor since. So in her mind, she thinks they flagged my file. Kind of like George Costanza with the book.
George, there's Seinfeld reference number 1 for today.
Ding. So we were just talking about that the other day. Well, you should have reminded me the other day because, the doctor came and saw me. I went to the doctor on Monday, and there he was. And I came home. I was like, I saw the doctor. Oh, how do you get to see the doctor? You're the one who was so grumpy about it. And
you didn't voice your displeasure.
Yeah, I go, well, the next time I see him, I'll ask if he could just, remove the mark from her file because she's really sorry.
But yeah, I thought you were going to say that pretty soon with like you not wanting to go and waiting and getting grumpy maybe there, that she's finally to the point where she's like, she's just not going to go with you and make you go on your own.
Well, it's kind of come to that.
Okay.
She doesn't really accompany me anymore. So yeah, I went to see the doctor, and I got this little sinus thing. I got a thing in my lungs, and in my throat, and so I'm well medicated these days.
So this is like your flu game almost.
Maybe, yeah.
Or even last week could have been.
I think last week was really the flu game. Now I feel like I'm, like 3 days under medication.
Yeah.
But I still have. So we'll have the Halls count for the podcast. I started with 1. I started with 6. Now we're down to 5.
Just real quick, speaking of the flu game, because I saw this earlier today, Michael Jordan's flu game shoes just sold for $1.38 million at an auction.
That's crazy. A pair of shoes, dude.
But, dude, did you see the stats he put up when he was sick with the flu?
I know.
And Scotty carrying him off?
That's when they were
friends.
They were friends and brothers.
And not this. He's a horrible basketball player.
Yeah. I mean, not this bitterness.
But I don't like going to the doctor. Like, the only one I don't mind is the eye doctor because I already know my eyes are garbage. So what's he going to tell me? Nothing. Yeah. I already know. But like the dentist or regular doctor, I prefer not to go if I don't have to.
Yeah. I think all this stems back from when I was a teenager. I had a little acne problem, and so my mom finally found someone recommended a dermatologist. I go to the dermatologist. I won't say the doctor's name, but invariably I'd go, and you sit in the waiting room for a while, and they're like, "Okay, your turn to come in." So I'd sit in the room for like another 45 minutes by myself. And as I would walk by, I'd walk by the doctor's office, and he's sitting at his desk doing something. Now, this is through the lens of a 16-year-old, okay? And I'm like already kind of like, I've been waiting out in the waiting room. All right, now I want to see the doctor. And I see he's doing nothing. So, 45 minutes to an hour later, he comes sauntering in. There's a good word, saunter. And he sounded like this. He's like, "Well, hello there. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, but it probably wasn't that long, was it?" And then he would see me for 5 minutes. He would look at the present condition of my face, and then prescribe me some stuff, and I'd be on my way. And every single time, he would be late, and every single time, he would come into the room with that same, "Sorry to have kept you waiting." And about after, I don't know how many of those, when he went, I had enough. The 16-year-old in me had enough. And he goes, "But it probably wasn't that long, was it?" And I said, "Actually, I've been here an hour and 45 minutes. It has been long." Oh. So,
did you get blackballed from that doctor?
I don't know, but I stopped seeing him after a while because I thought, he helped me. He did help me. He helped my complexion. So
the only thing that probably scarred me at the doctor was the I believe it's a glaucoma test at the eye doctor when they shoot the puff of air in your eye.
Oh yeah,
I can't do it. I blink.
Really?
I would always blink. It would take 15 tries per eye, and then and I had the same eye doctor from second grade up until a few years ago. So, it's roughly 20, 30 years in through there. I had the same eye doctor. And he was kind of finally he went to a different practice. "Don't worry, we're not going to shoot the puff of air in your eye. We'll just drop a couple drops in your eye and shine a light." I'm like, "Thank you. That's so much better than getting shot in the eye with a puff of air." I just can't do it. I blink.
That's so weird. I've had that done, and I can't remember if I blinked or not, but I feel like I
you don't go to the eye doctor every
no,
year.
Not like you, no.
So... But that's, and I go there because, my eyesight's very poor.
And we need a physician.
We need a physician. We need to go to dentists and doctors. Mm-hmm. Yet we don't it's kind of I don't like asking for help when I'm at a Home Depot or something like that because I should be able to find what I'm looking for in here.
Come on, you're a man.
I know. I'll walk around for 30 minutes in this store before I ask for help.
You are a proud owner of the man card.
Right. And if I ask, they'll take it away from me, that man card, and I'd rather walk for 30 minutes and try to find it instead of finding it in 2 minutes based on help. But that's not what we're here for.
No.
But it is like Matthew 9:12 and verse 13 that we kind of want to look at. And then also, I think you said a Romans text you had.
Yeah, so you want to read the Matthew text?
Yeah. But when he heard it, he said, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy and not sacrifice, for I came not to call the righteous, but sinners." And Jesus kind of says something similar to that first part, I think, through most of the Gospels, or at least at one point or another in the Gospels.
Yeah, I think in Luke it's, physician heal thyself, and why don't you do to us what you've done for others? I think that was probably in his hometown. But yeah, here he's saying, hey, if you're well, you don't need a doctor.
Right, you don't need to come to me if you're well.
Right.
And... and this is coming right after he calls Matthew. And I was listening to another podcast where that's where I kind of hit upon, and a little bit in the sermon preaching this past weekend, saying, think about Matthew hearing that. That was something I never really thought about, Matthew being within earshot of this and what was going through his mind.
Right.
Hearing Jesus say, "I came for those who are sick."
Yeah.
And realize, wait, he's talking about me.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is, this is a response to a question that the Pharisees said to his disciples. And the question was, why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners? And Jesus heard him ask the question, and he just comes right out and replies. And of course, the Pharisees don't feel that they have a problem. They're the ones who are acting righteous, self-righteous.
And doing more than what they need to, making that extra sacrifice, which hits into the second part in that verse.
Yep.
About is there mercy and not sacrifice.
Yeah, they were big on, quote, showing sacrifice and real short on mercy. And Jesus is like, hey, I don't care about your sacrifice. You need to show mercy like I show you mercy. And how does he show us mercy? Well, he forgives the sinners.
Right.
So that kind of takes us, as you said, into the Romans text, Romans 5:8, where, God doesn't wait for us to, he didn't wait for us to get our act together or to get healthy, right? But it says, Paul says, but God shows his love for us that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And that's so true. And thanks be to God that he didn't wait for us to...
Right. He's not like us when we need to go to the doctor or even the hospital for we try to push it off thinking, oh, I'm not that bad off. I can hold off and not go.
Yeah. In Jesus, the doctor made the house call, right?
Right.
And he came to the house. Have you ever had that where a doctor came to your house?
No, I'm not that old.
Wait.
Hey now.
Well, for a minute there, I thought Izzy was in. But I can't remember if the doctor ever came to my house as a kid. I don't think he did.
I mean,
but it was close. There was times where I think, he would have.
But then again, I had a paramedic always at my house.
Oh, true. Yeah, you had a live-in paramedic.
I had a live-in paramedic most of my childhood.
Well, he's not going to allow that. He's
he can, but that's even now, that whole idea of not wanting to go to the doctor and even being hurt. Something might be going wrong with my body or just being sick or injured. I don't know. I don't think I need to go to the doctor. And I'm like, well, maybe I should check with Dad because I know Dad's a little more. Don't worry, it's all good. If I ask Mom, then it's gonna be, oh, you need to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in Salem, my first church, there was a day where I had some pain in my left arm and a little shortness of breath. I'm like, that's usually not a good combination of left arm and chest. And I was like, but it's fine. It can't be that serious.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know it's not a good sign, but I don't want to go to the hospital. And I was like, well, I'll call Dad and see what he says. Dad's a little more, like I said, lenient.
Rub some dirt on it.
Yeah. And I went to his voicemail. I was like, come on, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And then I called Mom and she's like, you need to go right now. And we had youth activity scheduled that night. It was a Wednesday. I was like, fine. And I went, and that's when I found out when you tell them you have chest pains and something.
Oh, you are top priority.
You are first class in there, my friend.
Yeah.
They were like, get back to her right now. We're doing all these tests right away. I was like, oh man, this is.
What have I done?
I'm like, do I just need to say this next time? Be like, actually, that's getting better, but this is the real reason I'm in here. So that way I don't have to sit in the triage area.
Yeah.
And like, okay, it's looking good. Everything's coming back normal. But now, because, there is some heart stuff in the family, we like to keep you overnight. So that was my only time I've ever been overnight in the hospital for my own thing. It turned out to be nothing. And I mean, it was probably a good thing to get checked out because I was leaving on a mission trip that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think it was, the shortness of breath or the cough and whatever, that was maybe just a fluky thing. And why I think I had pain in my left arm is I remember like a day or so before that, I was trying to get my lawnmower started and it wasn't starting, but all the pulling on the cord tweaked something in my left arm. And then it just happened to be that combination of both those things at the same time.
Well, I had a similar thing. Well, it happened here at church because somebody was bringing in these big boxes, and I'm like, oh, I'll go out and help you. And they were kind of awkward and big and kind of heavy. And I carried them in and this and that. And all of a sudden, I started feeling the same thing, like a pain in my left arm. And I just felt like a pull on my chest. And it happened to be the left side. And, well, maybe it was the next day. It was the next day because, you sleep on it or whatever. And I mentioned it to, Lisa. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, Lisa. I'm just feeling kind of, she goes, go to the urgent care now, Pastor. And so I had the same treatment when I walked in. I'm like, kind of feeling like a chest pain. Burp, 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 come on. And you feel like, oh, no.
They usher you right back there.
I've set things in motion here. And thankfully, it was nothing. It was the same thing. It was like just a pulled muscle.
Two fluky things.
Yeah.
I just still remember when they're like, yep, we're going to admit you for the night. I was like, well, can I go run to the house real quick to get some my iPad or something? Because
absolutely not.
Because I'm just gonna sit here and be like, do nothing all night.
Yeah.
And like, nope, you can't go, my friend. I was like, Thank you. Someone from the church brought me a cell phone charger so I could charge my phone.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm just like, it's kind of boring.
So I have to ask you, PD had a little mishap this week, and did you go see the doctor, or did you call mom and dad to see if you should go to the doctor?
No, I didn't go to the doctor. I told mom and dad, oh, this is what happened, and then mom's like, well, let me see. So I took a picture of it, and she's like, oh, yep, you did a good number. She noticed the bump that you kind of noticed when I showed you, and she goes, it looks like it's bruising behind your knee.
Yeah.
And so
you had a hematoma.
She's like, put some peroxide over that and different things, and
didn't have any remnants of gravel.
I don't think so.
Do you want to share what happened?
So I'm kind of klutzy at times, I guess. I was being a good dog owner, walking Madison. I was right there at Barrington High School on their nice new lovely little path that they just built, nice blacktop path in front of the school.
Yep.
And I saw, when I was coming up along Hart Road there where you can turn into the parking lot, I noticed this guy running the other way towards where my house is, the way I'm going. And then, I make that turn from Hart Road onto Main Street on the path. And I'm walking. I'm just past their nice little fancy sign at Barrington High School. And I see the guy that was running, walking back. I was like, okay, I think I was about to say just, hi, nodded the head, even though I had my AirPods in. And as soon as I was about to do that, I hit a patch of mud on the blacktop, which I didn't notice. And blacktop is pretty slippery at times, or mud is.
Especially when it's new blacktop and mud on top.
And I just went down like a ton of bricks. The guy that was walking almost parallel with me at that time didn't say a word, kept on walking. I pushed myself up, thankfully Madison, I kept the leash in my right hand, but pushing myself up to the left hand, then my left hand was all full of caked in mud. I was like, I don't want to rub it on my shirt. And I was like, and then my left leg, which is what's scraped up right now, that was all full of mud from my knee down to my shin. I'm just like, I look like a ragamuffin here, and I'm just embarrassed because I fell, and we're all full of mud. I'm just like, okay, I just need to get home, hop in the shower, rinse this all off, and not fun.
But you didn't go see the physician.
No, I mean, it still hurts a little bit walking just because of the placement of the scrape and all that on the knee, bending, and as my mom likes to remind me, I'm getting older. I'm closer to 40 and 50 than I am 20. And so, you don't heal up as quickly. And, she's like, you're not as young as you used to be.
Don't you love when People tell you that. You're like, thank you.
Yeah,
you know,
I know I'm getting older.
Yeah, I don't need to be reminded of this stuff.
But, I'm like, yeah, I know I don't heal as quickly.
Yeah.
That's why I'm afraid almost to try to play basketball again, like pick up basketball. Because I'm like, I haven't played it consistently for 7 years now.
Right.
And I'm just like, I'd be out of shape. And I'm just like, oh man, if I get hurt playing basketball. So maybe softball is the right speed.
I think it might be. Yeah. You're doing good there.
We're trying.
So anyway, yeah. So, we go to the doctor when, we are sick. And some of us men, we proudly bear our man card and say, I don't need to go to the doctor.
Just rub some dirt
on it. And, but, we're all sick in terms of that sickness of sin. And none of us can get around it. And we need Jesus. And so many people kind of work through life thinking, I'm fine. I'm doing okay. I'm not hurting anybody. And so invariably comes a little self-righteousness, right? Because all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But people will say, I don't really, I don't talk to God. I don't pray to him. I don't go to church. I have really no need. God knows my needs. I'm good.
Kind of only when I need to, almost like he's up on the shelf, break glass in case of emergency.
Right.
Then I'll call out to God.
Yeah. And so Jesus is saying, hey, I came for those who are sick. So if you realize how sick you are with the sin that you have in your life, I have mercy for you.
Right.
And
you can even take it the other way, which is what I kind of hit upon, where it's like, I'm not good enough to go to church. I'm too sick, so to speak, using that terminology.
Yes, yeah.
That, oh, man, they're going to judge me. They know my past. They know my sins. How could they even welcome me into their fellowship?
Right.
And so we then exclude ourselves from that, which is not good either.
Yeah. Or you might think, church is filled with a bunch of self-righteous people who think they got their lives together. And, they're going to look at me and say, well, why are you here?
Right.
And that's kind of what was at play here with, why is Jesus sitting down having table fellowship with the lowest of lows and the tax collectors and sinners? We don't know what their sin was, but obviously they were known to be sinful people and looked down upon by the leaders of the church,
But yeah, and I don't think they have, I feel you and I both kind of do this to some extent, is like, we do admit the times when we've messed up and when we're preaching to show, hey, we don't always have it all together.
Right.
Because there's some, to me, value when you're doing that as a pastor, being, hey, I don't have it all together. As much as I would like to, I still mess up.
And I'll tell you what, I'm relying on the mercy of God just as much as everyone else, you know. So, yeah, Jesus is not looking for us to do great works where we kind of sacrifice our worldly livelihood, to impress him or whatever. But he wants us to show mercy to others because we've been shown mercy. It's that whole circular loop, we should forgive others just as we have been forgiven by our Lord. And so I think that's like a Colossians 3 thing.
And that's why I love the text you read from Romans about he came to us while we were yet sinners. Like Jesus didn't say, oh, when you become perfect, or God didn't say, when you become perfect, when you do everything right, that's when I'll come. But it's in our sin he comes to us.
Right. He doesn't wait for us to get better because he's the one who makes us better.
He's the only one that can make us feel better. And, talking about your sickness that you've been dealing with the past week and a half, you saw it happen by staying away from the doctor, thinking, it'll just run its course.
It'll run its course.
But now you're seeing the help of medicine, and, you've taken your second Hall's cough drop here.
Down to 4.
So, we got to keep that count going.
Yeah, so, but... in my own rationalization last week, I'm like, if I go to the doctor, they're going to say, well, when did this start? And I'll say 2 days ago. And they'll say, well, why don't you give it a few days? Let's see what happens before we prescribe anything. So I was trying to like reason it out, but, I probably was talking myself out.
It's just
to be honest.
Right, you're probably like, it's just a little old cold.
Yeah.
And, if I have a cold, there's nothing the doctor's going to do if I have a cold.
Yeah. So if I keep taking care of myself, it'll go away. Well, it didn't. Right. So, but today's better than last week.
Well, that's good. But yeah, I think some of it, we don't want to be like the little girl who cried wolf of going, oh, I need to go to a doctor.
Right.
And it's like kind of what you're getting at too. It feels almost that waste of time because you have all that waiting around time where you can't really do stuff. Takes up a portion of the day when there's other things we could be doing. But then being sick, we're not as productive.
Well, and even now, I mean, people are always like, you need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of yourself. And then you try and balance that with your own responsibilities and things like that. And like, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. And you kind of like downplay it, I suppose. And that's the danger of, with our health. If we downplay something that's going on in our health, we're not taking care of ourselves, and, well, what good are we to others?
Right. Well, it's kind of like they say, if a plane's going down, you take the oxygen mask first yourself.
Right, yeah.
Because if you don't have that oxygen and you pass out, what good are you to the person next to you? Mm-hmm. So take care of yourself so then you can be helpful to the person next to you.
Yeah, it's not like you're being selfish.
Right.
You're trying to make yourself available to others. So, yeah, so that's the way that Jesus, he came for those who are broken. Friends, you and I are broken. We're so badly broken that we need Jesus. And I think that's the slippery slope, as I was saying before, where folks in this world say, I really don't need Jesus. I'm good. I'm all right.
Right.
Well, you're ready to slip down something. You're putting too much pride in yourself.
Yeah, you'll slip down in that mud like I did this week. And then you're just covered in it. And then you're like, I need to get cleaned up, and tie to baptism, and how do I get cleaned up after my fall with all the mud? Water, just like the water of holy baptism cleanses us from our sinfulness and our brokenness. See, that's why God maybe let me fall.
Remembering your baptism.
God, the fall I'm using for a teaching moment.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if the guy actually did notice you went down, or if he just was oblivious.
I was like right next.
How do you not know?
Yeah, like we were like maybe the way you're looking at me, and like we were that like next to each other when I fell, just like shoulders, but more like side to. So I don't know how you would have missed it.
It's like you wonder what's running through people's minds in moments like that. Like, just keep walking, just keep walking.
He's got headphones in. He doesn't know. He won't hear me.
He won't hear me. Whatever. He'll be fine. Yeah. So I don't want to get involved.
Like the parable of the Good Samaritan.
Right.
Oh, I'm going to the other side.
The other side of the road. He won't notice me.
He won't notice me.
Yeah.
Oh, I noticed. All right.
Oh, well. Well, hey, it was great to talk through this, just expand a little bit more on that gospel that you preached on last week. And, hey, if you haven't heard that sermon, it's a great sermon by PD. Look it up on our website or on Facebook or YouTube channel for Emmanuel. And, I'm sure you'll be blessed by it.
Thank you, and God's blessings.